In today's video, we've got an update on the iconic arcade Double Dragon, which seemingly is going to have a very different build than the iconic arcade Street Fighter 2. And on top of that, we've got some very big news coming out of my chillin' chat this past Monday night, where Arcade1Up told us we're not getting 3 Supreme Cabinets at Comic-Con, we're actually getting 4. And we've got a little bit of a hint on what these releases could be. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Michael B. And in today's video, we're going back to some home arcade news because we've got some very interesting news that we're going to cover today. We've got an update on Iconic Arcade's Double Dragon Cab, which looks like it's going to be coming out sometime this summer. And on top of that, we also got another big summer event, Comic-Con, with Arcade1Up revealing new cabs, and it turns out we're not getting 3 Supreme cabs at the event, but yet 4. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for checking out the video. Guys, I always appreciate the support. If this is your first time to the channel and you like what you see, go ahead, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, all that YouTube jazz. So, of course, we've known for a very long time now what was going to be the next release from Iconic Arcade that's slated to come out sometime this summer. It is, in fact, going to be Double Dragon. We actually found out about this last year. However, as we get closer to the event, a little bit more information is coming out about the Iconic Arcade Double Dragon cab, and it's seemingly going to be built very differently than the first release from Iconic Arcade in the recreation arcade line, the Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Alpha cabs. So, of course, for those of you that have been following my channel, you know that I recently received an Iconic Arcade Street Fighter 2 for review, and my first impressions were very positive about the cabinet. I love the build, I love the look of it, I love the way that it's actually almost like a full-size arcade 90% of the way. There were some issues with it off the start, like, you know, it does have the same buttons as what we're familiar with from other arcade cabinets. There's not really a big upgrade there, but the screen looked pretty good. Everything worked like it should. Now, since then, there's been a couple other things that come up, a little bit of software issues that have presented themselves in the most recent future. Hopefully, that's something they can get worked out with a software update. But overall, I was fairly impressed with the cabinet and thought it was one of the best home arcade offerings we had received to date. But the thing was, I kept hearing from John D himself, as well as my buddy 19K Fox, who had some inside information that while Street Fighter 2 actually was pretty good, it was built very good, I'm satisfied with the way that it's put together, I heard that their next release, Iconic Arcade Double Dragon, was going to be built even better. It was going to be different. Well, what exactly does that mean? It looks like we finally have some answers on what the build is going to be and the improvements we can see in the structure of this new Iconic Arcade cabinet. So there now are pictures making the rounds of the build of the updated Iconic Arcade Double Dragon with the new build process. And here you can see some pictures that were shared with me of the parts laying on the floor. As you can see, we've got a speaker panel, we've got the actual control panel, there's some other parts there. And anyways, as we go through these, you're going to be able to see how this is built differently. The first thing that a lot of people are going to be surprised by is they've changed the way that the cabinet is actually going to connect the top from the bottom. You remember on the first cabinet, we were questioning, you know, why it wasn't cross-braced a little bit better. It had 2 wooden pieces on each side that screwed in instead of the metal pieces that are usually there, and it usually screws into like side pieces that kind of keep it all tight when we're talking about Arcade1Up and the basic fun cabs. But but Iconic Arcade went a different direction. Here, instead of those two wooden pieces that actually keep it together, it looks like there's going to be a full another wide piece right across the top of each side piece that connects directly to the bottom piece and then is going to connect to the top piece as well. And that seems to be one of the big changes. It basically cross braces instead of two. It's going to have three. It's going to give it a lot more stability. Now, this picture here shows the finished bottom piece, and you're going to see how that stability works in. Instead of you having to connect the wooden pieces from the top to the bottom, you know, those four pieces that were before, it's a solid plate that goes right on. This is going to be a much more stable cab when it's all connected. Now, here's a look at the front kick plate, and this is actually very interesting. Typically, the front kick plate is just a very thin piece of MDF that kind of slides in and connects in grooves. This time, you're getting a full plate in the front, and then, of course, it's got a metal bracket that's going to connect it to the side plates. So this is a big change from what we've seen previously, and, of course, we've got a little bit of an updated coin door there as well that you can see in this image. Another big thing is people were a little bit concerned about wire management with the previous cab. It seemed like everything was kind of all over the place. You had your power supply up in the speaker panel, and then the Pi itself was actually on the back of the monitor, with then a bunch of cords going from there. They've changed it on this one. It looks like everything is going to plug directly into the control panel, so most of your stuff is right there on the back. The Pi won't be as exposed as it previously was. So here's a look again at the exact same image we previously saw, but this time with the wires plugged in. So as you can see, the cable management is going to be a lot more tidy. And there you see another image on the back of the monitor being kept in place. This time it doesn't have that huge VESA wooden mount holding it in place. And this time it's just going to have these small brackets connecting the monitor to the side of the control panel, and you get a better look at the wire management from inside. Much more manageable for people. I didn't think it was that bad, but a lot of people really had a struggle with the wire management on the Iconic Arcade for some reason, so it's definitely a lot more cleaned up. And then last but not least, for the people looking to add this to their Iconic Arcade collection and want to see how everything is going to fit in, there's your look at the built Double Dragon cab. Marquee is on, the power buttons are on, but unfortunately nothing on the screen for us to see there, but you can get a look at the cab and how it will fit in a row next to your other Iconic Arcade and possibly other arcade cabinets. And I gotta say, I think it looks pretty good. This is turning out exactly like I hoped it would. So guys, that's the update for Iconic Arcade. Obviously, it's going to have a much more refined build process, not as much wood and better wood when it's necessary. So I think this is moving in the right direction. Now, a lot of people might not care about the build quality so much as what are the games, when is it going to be available, what's the price. We don't really know those answers right now. We'll have to stay tuned to get an update from Iconic Arcade to find out more information as we go along. We don't know what the price will be. You can anticipate that if the regular price for Iconic Arcade going forward is going to be $7.99, this may be $7.99 at launch. Hopefully there's a little bit of a discount and they sell it for like $6.99 like they did with the Iconic Arcade Street Fighter 2. The only thing I do know is they plan to launch this in July, and I don't think it's going to be a pre-order. I think when it goes on sale, it's going to be shipping immediately. So wait and see what happens there. So switching gears, this past Monday, I had a group of guests on my show, and we were talking all about Arcade1Up going to Comic-Con International 2026 this coming summer. And the fun thing about it was, the reason I had these particular guests is we've all been invited by Arcade1Up to head out to Comic-Con. They're providing us with badges and a travel stipend to attend the show to see the big announcements they have. And a lot of people in the community are speculating this is going to be big, especially since they're going to all the trouble to get all these home arcade YouTubers to come out and see the reveal. Now, one of the things we talked about is what the reveal could possibly be. Now, this past Monday, I actually made up this slide about everything we knew at the time for the event, talking about what we could possibly see from the 3 Supreme Cabs. Of course, we knew one of the Supreme Cabs is going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. That's already confirmed. But there was also other pieces of information that got completely flipped on its head after this Monday show. We found out, for one, it's not going to be 3 total Supremes, but yet 4 total Supremes, so we have to add another item to the mix there. So instead of 3 Supremes, we're now getting 4. Then the other piece of information that we talked about is nobody had previously guessed, or at least Arcade1Up official said they hadn't seen anybody guess what one of the releases was going to be. But yet on my show this past Monday, they said somebody in the chat actually correctly guessed what one of the cabs was going to be. Now, I'm not going to go back through the whole list. If you guys are interested in trying to find out, you can go through and see what the chat said and what guesses they were making and kind of decide for yourself and do a little speculation of your own. The other big piece of information that we got from that show is not only will they be showing off Supremes at Comic-Con, there'll also be some deluxes, ultras as well. So this is shaping up to be a pretty big event for Arcade1Up. Now, of course, I have my picks on what I'm hoping to see Arcade1Up release in the Supreme and Ultra Deluxe form factors at Comic-Con. More than anything else, there's a couple cabs that I would love to see them revisit and maybe do a little bit of a better job on, with Burger Time being one. Another one I've seen a lot of buzz about as we go into this event, and a lot of people hoping to see, is a return to Sega. Of course, we already know we're getting the Sonic cab, but people want to see more Sega titles coming from Arcade1Up. And another one that people are suggesting and talking about is, of course, Golden Axe. They previously released, or at least Arcade1Up did, Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder. I absolutely love this cab. I love the artwork. I love the coloring. I just didn't love the shark fin, so I would love to see this cab revisited, but done with a more modern Arcade1Up touch. I think that would be another preferable one. However, I will say I don't know if necessarily Arcade1Up is the company that will tackle Golden Axe. Maybe that will be the competitor Iconic Arcade. So we can guess until the cows come home. There's tons of possibilities about what Arcade1Up is doing. We know that these aren't new games we haven't seen before. These are titles we have previously seen. We know someone correctly guessed one during Chillin' Chat Monday night. We know there's going to be 4 Supremes, one of which being Sonic. There might be some Deluxes and Ultras. This is truly exciting. One of the other things that kind of came up was people were like, how many of these will be canceled? Because obviously at Toy Fair we saw Miss Pac-Man Supreme that eventually got delayed, canceled. This is a different event. I mean, Toy Fair is an industry event. Comic-Con is a public event, so I think most of these cabs are closer to the finalized stage than we previously saw in the past. The only thing we really know is if you're interested in possibly seeing them, Comic-Con 2026 is the place that you're going to see them. And stay tuned to their official YouTube channels and social media, as well as my YouTube channel, social media, and all my guests from this past Monday to see what Arcade1Up is going to reveal at Comic-Con International. So anyways, guys, just a quick news update from the home arcade world for you this Thursday. Of course, we talked about the changes with Iconic Arcade. It's cool to see the development of these products and how they're improving structural-wise, you know, behind the scenes as we get closer to the release. Now, that might not be everybody's cup of tea. They don't really care about the structure. They care about the art. They care about what games are included and, of course, how much it's going to cost. We don't have those details yet, but we know overall we're getting a more refined, well-built product. So I think that's moving in the right direction. Then on top of that, Arcade1Up just constantly poking us and making us excited for Comic-Con. I have absolutely no idea what's going to be there. I'm going in with an open mind. I'm not shooting for the moon, thinking we're getting Dragon's Lair, Tron, and Star Wars Supremes. I'm just hoping for some cool shit. My expectations are low, and I'm prepared to be excited, but they certainly are putting on a push and giving us a lot of reason to hope. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this news from Iconic Arcade? Are you excited to see a change in the build? Do you have more confidence in the product now? And then, of course, with Arcade1Up at Comic-Con, what do you think they're doing? Do you think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised, or do you think that maybe they're building it up a little bit too much for what it is? I don't know. Personally, I'm excited to be there and get to check these out in person. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so very much for watching. This is Michael B. the Game Genie. I'll talk to you next time.